Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott and we're counting down my top 30 favorite manga and manhwa of all time. In this video, we're going to be counting down number 20 all the way through 11. If you haven't checked out my other video, go ahead and click the eye on the right hand corner and you can see my top 30 all the way through 21. So just a few caveats real quick. I did say this in the other video, so maybe you want to skip this. I apologize. I'm not trying to personally offend anyone, as people were genuinely offended, things that were their all overall favorites, but it was not one of mine. So I do apologize profusely if something does not make that list. Another thing I want to just give a little tip is just because it's a masterpiece, just because I think it's absolutely beautiful, wonderful, it's a 10, doesn't mean it's in my top 30. I hope that makes sense. And then I also want to give a little tip. The last thing is, you're wondering, how did I go ahead and I picked these series? Well, I ended up going through all this manga and manga here, and I just started writing down series that really impacted me and I just absolutely loved. I did not look at my videos from a few years ago, seeing what did I do for my top 20 through 1, what did I do for my original 10 through 1. So there will be things here that will not probably be on those lists. I don't know, because I did not look at those. All I had was just trying to refresh my memory for the last few years. So with that said, let's go ahead and kick off here. But before we begin, I'd love to know, as always, in the comments below, what are your favorite manga slash manhwa of all time? There's many series I just probably have not read. There's a reason why it might not be on this list, is I have not read it. Go ahead and recommend it. If you see a series that I don't have on here, on these top lists, go ahead and say, Scott, this should be on that list. Here's why. If you haven't read it, you should read it. If you read it and you didn't like it, reread it, because I think it's phenomenal. We have the one and only Akane Banashi, and I could easily see this dropping down even more, maybe someday get in my top 10. I have no other manga like this whatsoever. This is about Rakugo, which I had no idea what that was before, but it's just a Japanese storytelling where one person sits on a pillow and tells a story to an audience. And it's usually all these Japanese folktales, and there's some really entertaining folktales in this, and just I love learning about that. But the storytelling in this, and it could be because I have two daughters here, but her dad gets kicked out of just being one of the best Rakugos ever. He gets kicked out of the school, so he can never do it again. And she's trying to follow his dream, and she wants to show and prove people wrong that her dad was great, that his type of style was phenomenal. And there's many times where I just have tears in my eyes as I'm reading this. You just can't help but root for her, as she has spent so many years now trying to learn this craft for herself. She's discovering what was good with her dad, what might not have been, and she wants to be able to show the world just what was so special. The impact her dad made on her, she wants to be able to take that and now show the world that impact to others. So again, this is very different. This is not a battle manga such as many typical Shonen Jump series, but there's nothing like this. It's just really tugged at my heartstrings many times. And this is actually a sports series. It's a manhwa, and this is called The Boxer. Man, The Boxer. Now, I'll be honest, the first volume I just thought was okay, but as we've continued to progress, I am just completely, I want to say almost hooked, pun intended, in with this series. There's many times where instead of following the main character, you also get to see the thoughts of his opponents. And there's some times where I actually want his opponent to win and not the main character. And there's something that's said about a series like that. It's full in color, which I absolutely appreciate here. But there are times that I have just emotionally cried when I was reading this series. So if you're looking for something that just has a lot of emotions to it as well, where you're like, why would I cry at a boxing series? Well, this one made me cry, as you're seeing people just wanting to follow their dreams. And sometimes you can follow your dreams and you're still not going to make it. And how do you handle that? How do you handle having a dream and be completely crushed and you realize the reality is there's no way it's ever going to happen? What do you do with that? How do you move on? How do you go ahead and deal with wanting a family but not having to deal with just bad circumstances in the past? This is just a phenomenal boxing series. You are following the main character as he just rises up as a boxer, but then seeing the other side of just what's going on outside the ring is just so powerful. I absolutely love this series. A Silent Voice. This is the lovely collector's edition. There's 2 in 1. I highly recommend that treatment. I absolutely loved it. And I did a review on this series, but This is about a boy who ends up being a bully to a girl who is deaf. From those actions, you get to see later on in life, now he's in high school, where in elementary he did these horrific things, and now you get to see the consequences of his actions, and now he's trying to go back and make it right from being a bully. He's seen the error of his ways, and he wants to try to make it right to a girl that had such a horrific experience because of him. This one had me crying a lot too. I know a lot of these series I'm talking about in these videos probably made me cry. Maybe I should just do a list on top series that I'm crying from, but man, this just really hit me. The artwork is incredible. I just really just felt for that main character as he's trying to redeem himself. And then you get to see the perspective of the girl being deaf and what she's dealt with, not just from him, but others. Maybe feeling like an outcast from society, feeling like a burden for others because she's different. And just having to wrestle with those things, having someone you hope to believe in you. Wow, so good. Land of the Lustrous. Now, I do know this was in my top 10 for a long time. I absolutely love this series. I'm just waiting for that last volume, and that might actually change everything once we get that last volume is complete in Japan. I'm just waiting for Kodansha to give us that last volume here, which I hope is this year. This series has just really impacted me. This idea where we're in this future world where these people come up as gems, and then as they're different densities, so they could be jade, they could be diamond, could be quartz, and then you're following this main girl here who she's one of the weakest of them all. And then you see along the way they're being attacked by people from the moon constantly, which I know is kind of weird from the earth, and then they're having to defend themselves. And then when they get damaged, if they lose part of their shards, they actually lose their memories as well. And the problem is they don't know what memories they had before or not, because they just can't recall. And just that really hit me, just that idea of what would that be like if you knew you lost something, you lost memories, but you have no idea what those were to begin with. They could have been something so meaningful and special. It could have been a friend, but you generally don't know, and you're just constantly wondering. This has a unique twist in the series that actually flips it on its head, and I'm just completely sucked in. I will say the artwork wasn't exactly for me, so I didn't get gripped from the artwork itself, but just the search for the meaning in this just was so strong, as each of them are trying to find their purpose. And again, when you get to see the different sides of people, I'm like, oh, maybe these aren't really as people are as great as they are. Maybe people that are bad are actually good, and vice versa. There's a lot of different tones in this, but I will say it took me a couple of volumes. Don't just read the first 2 volumes and say, nope, that's not for me. It took me a bit. It is a faster read, which is good. It took me a few volumes, but I really love this series. It's literally a hidden gem. I don't know why enough people don't talk about. It's one I constantly recommend people when they're looking for a good manga to pick up, that manga that most people don't know about. But man, Land of the Lustrous. This is probably the most ruthless villain of the series that really had me on the edge of my seat all the way to the very end. I just thought the ending just didn't have as strong of a hook as I wanted. I did a review for the series years ago, and that is Ajin, Demi-Human. Wow. This series is this idea that there are these shadowy demi-human people that live on the planet. You might be one of them, but you don't know until your death. And the idea is that if you die, it's almost like you reset and your body comes back to life, and but you don't know until that happens. There's just some government people involved. Maybe they're capturing some of these Ajin to do, medical experiments on for new drugs. How will it take to kill someone? And then they can go and make a bunch of money off of it. The thing that hit me with the series and why it made number 17 is it just has one of the most ruthless villains of all time, where you're just like, no way they did that, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. Remind me almost like a Terminator, and it was just the phenomenal, the story. I was just at the edge of my seat. What is going to happen next? So if you're looking for edge of your seat type of series, definitely not for kids just because of the violence, but wow, Ajin was just such a unique story. Love the villain. This just really had me on the edge. Coming in at number 15, this was a series that was not on my radar, and then I did a top 10 a new manga that came out a while ago with Laura. This was a couple of years ago, and her number 1 was The Remarried Empress. So I went and I picked up this series, and I absolutely loved it. I did not think I would love this type of series, but this one has me hooked. They need to have a live action for this with the eyes pressed line. It just has gorgeous colors with a full color for a manga, which I absolutely love. But this series is about the empress that she's the queen, and now her husband has decided to go ahead and pick up a mistress, and that's okay in the court. And this mistress just is wanting to make her way and maybe even become the queen, and she is just not here. She's just not having it. She has worked really hard for this position. She has sacrificed everything to now have her chump of a husband to go ahead and have this side girl here, and then now he's going ahead and trying to push her out and make it. She's not having it, and I'm so glad. It is really, really good. You're seeing just her dedication, and she's trying to do things the right way. She's not trying to be cool or cruel. She doesn't want to be a villainess, but this person is just not doing well. And you get to see that more she's realizing her husband that she ended up loving. He's not as great as a guy as you think in some ways with some of the decisions he's making, and where now he thinks that she's being selfish, where in reality, he's the selfish one. So very, very good. A ton of drama. The costume design's phenomenal. This needs to be a live action series. I think this would do extremely well. 14, this series is something that has still hit me. We're complete with 17 volumes, but the dialogue in this, there's not much, but when it does, it just really hit me in a way where I've had several times after I finished reading, I had to sit and just pause for a little bit, and that is blood on the tracks. So the reason for this is you're dealing with a boy who has a helicopter overprotective mother, and the thing that hit was not the overprotective part, but she is extremely manipulative, and I dealt with someone who's extremely manipulative in my life and family, and even some of the words this mom says, I've heard those exact words come out of family members' mouth, and just that really hit me. So you follow this boy's journey, and then it's interesting, you see the consequences, and then I appreciate it ends up ending where you get to see him as an adult later on, where I think the first half of it is as a kid, and then you can see him as an adult and see those consequences from his mom. And then you also see the perspective on, how did his mom come to be the way that she is? Why is she overprotective? What's up with the manipulation? What's going on with his dad? Very, very powerful. Now, it is a fast read. I think each volume you could probably read in 20 minutes or so, but I do want to say, man, Shumi's artwork here, it really sucks you in. There's certain times that you kind of like with this artwork here, you just want to pause and just think about what's going on in the scene. You don't need to just don't flip through the next one right away. Just read it and flip, read and flip. You want to understand that every movement's with the characters, their actions. There's something more going on here, and it's just something you need to breathe and take in. Blood on the Tracks, absolutely amazing. Not for kids, for sure, especially that psychological horror. Just feel with it, but very, very good. And that is none other than why Raylina ended up at the Duke's mansion. This was my bonus one. I think this was my bonus one last year. I really enjoyed the series. I love Raylina, and I think there's only one left here, but this idea for this girl, she ends up being killed in real life, kind of gets reincarnated, and she gets reincarnated into a book that she's already read. The problem is she ends up waking up as one of the side characters, and in the story, the side character dies. Well, she does not going to have that, so she ends up changing things, and because she's changing things, it's now changing the story of the book, and that's now going to affect the main character. She's worried when the main character shows up, what's going to happen. Very good. Man, all in color. This is Yen Press. I'm surprised I didn't make the Ice Press line, but great manhwa here. I'm just so sucked into this series. I think we have one volume left coming out for it. It'll be finished, and then I'll have more final thoughts on it, but man, this one has just stolen my heart. I love Raylina. I don't know why, but this is such a great series. Laura recommended this to me. Laura's channel has so many good recommendations. Man, anytime she's recommended me something, she has not given me a bad recommendation yet. So she's a channel you should follow if you're not already, and especially if you're looking for more josei and shoujo series. Coming in at number 12, this one's fallen a bit. I believe this was in my top 10, but it's still one of my most favorite series. Absolutely my favorite cozy series, laugh out loud moments, and that is Komi Can't Communicate. Oh, I love Komi Can't Communicate so much. I'm so sad that it's completely over now. With I think 37 volumes I think it finished with. I think we're about to get 33 or 34. But Komi Can't Communicate. What a series. You're following this girl who she struggles with communicating and kind of puts puts people off where they think that they see her almost like a goddess, and they put her on a pedestal that she doesn't want to be on, and they think she's just not talking to them because she's better than them, but not in a way that they're offended just because they think she's so awesome. And then there's the main character, Tanero, who he ends up has just such strong emotional intelligence and sees her the way that she is and offers her to help her make 100 friends. Komi is actually lonely and wants to be able to have friends, and because people put her on a pedestal and they think, oh, I can't even be near her, I can't talk to her, she's just too amazing, it's actually caused barriers. And that just really made me think. I have someone who's a bit of a mentor for me, and I said, hey, I just don't want to take too much of your time. And he said, you know what? There's so many people who think exactly like you that you're taking too much of my time. They actually don't have too many people ever ask for help because they see me so high up on the thing. So I was very grateful. I now have a very strong relationship with this person. So, you know, it does not hurt to ask. But this series is just so cozy, snuggle up on a blanket, especially on a cold, rainy day. And then you also have just so many times of just laughing out loud. So I'm just, man, and it's one of those manga, if I'm tired and I just don't want to read anything, but I do want to read, Komi Can't Communicate just fits the bill entirely. My daughter loves it as well, who's 13. There was 2 volumes I had to talk to her about that I didn't definitely see why it's over teen. And I know some people are actually that read the first volume, they're like, absolutely, this shouldn't even be for teenagers, but for if you're an older ones, maybe 15 and above. So what I recommend is read the first volume for yourself to make that decision on Komi Can't Communicate. If you have a 13-year-old, you're like, oh, it's a teen, Scott recommended it, I would read that first 1 or 2 volumes for yourself before making that decision. Wow, now this series here, this is one that is taking place from another series, and that is Solo Leveling. I absolutely love this one. I'm at the edge of my seat for it. Scratches that same itch as Solo Leveling, but even better, even though we've only had, I think, 5 or 6 volumes so far, and that is Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. Man, talk about an apocalypse series. I gotta say, when the anime comes out for this, I think it's gonna blow Solo Leveling out of the water. But you're following this main character who ends up reading this online web novel, and it has 1,000 chapters, and he's the only one that stuck with it. Most people quit after 10 through chapters 50 of it, but he read all the way through to the end. And after reading the end, he gets a thank you from the author for reading it. And it just so happens the actual apocalypse has now started, but it's actually happening exactly like it happened in the book. And because he read the whole story, he knows what's going to happen. He's with someone that he's like, oh no, they're a main villain. What do I do? Do we get rid of them now? But that's going to change the whole story if we get rid of them. That main villain also attacks and destroys these other villains and other people and things. And then he has like, oh, there's the main character. What's going to happen with that main character now? Do I friend them? Do I stay away from them? They're kind of a jerk, but they're also a hero at the same time. And then there's other side characters that he's working with. So it's just phenomenal. Again, scratch the same itch of Solo Leveling. Feels like a video game world has now happened in real life. Absolutely love Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. This is one of my favorite manga of all time. And like the other ones from the Eyes Press, it's in color, which is great, but phenomenal series. Highly recommend. This would have been my number 1 from 2 years ago when we got the first volume last, not this November, but the November before. So that's all I have for you for my go-ahead counting. So again, I'd love to know in the comments below, what are your favorite of all time? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you as we count down to number 10 all the way through number 1.